Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Chris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is Childcare Rockstar Radio, episode 101, featuring Alix Hall. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This is Chris, your host, and I am thrilled to see you or have you be tuning in to me here at Childcare Rockstar Radio. We are now into official triple digits with episode 101. Alix Hall is amazing, and I really can't wait for you to experience this episode. I know I say that pretty much every single time, but this time, y'all, Alix is the real deal, and she delivers the goods on this episode. Alix has, dare I say, 4 decades of experience, and she looks like she's about 40, so you'd think she'd started this business when she was like 2 years old. She's from California, Sacramento area, and she's got 6 locations, I think 6, maybe 7. She's an incredible leader, and she inspires us all. She's very active in the Association for Early Learning Leaders, and she is extremely active in managing her schools and being the leader who shows up doing amazing things for her teachers and for her parents and children in her community. So what you're going to hear on this episode is really, we talk about the fact that 2020 and COVID was a season that brought to the forefront the importance of early care and education, and how everybody kind of took notice for the fact that we truly are essential. So we talk about that towards the end of the podcast, and it's extremely inspiring and on fire. So you're going to want to listen to the whole episode. It's extremely meaty. We talk about her philosophy and her curriculum, how she has developed a kind of, she calls it an eclectic curriculum with blends of Piaget and Montessori and Reggio. And she just has taken what she loves about each and then thrown away the rest and basically crafted her own blend. So flipping cool. We talk about leadership. Good leaders ask great questions is a quotable. And we talk about uplifting and up-leveling women, and that she has been able to help women in particular in her school who work for her get homes and purchase homes and build wealth and drive nice cars and care for their families at a higher level and be able to afford cool vacations. So she's really proud of her impact in helping women get a leg up in their careers. And we don't hear that a lot in early childhood, do we? We hear a lot of childcare workers are underpaid, and it's so unaffordable for parents and all that negative stuff, which is oftentimes true. I'm not saying that that's not the case, certainly. But on the flip side, Alix really has changed the script for how she and her team think about impact, because they've impacted a lot of women to have long-term professional careers and be well paid in California and own homes and provide for their families and be a breadwinner or alongside their spouse as a breadwinner, and to feel really, really just fulfilled. The fulfillment of the professional development of women in this amazing career. And that's, again, not a message you hear a lot of. What perhaps the thing I love the most that Alix said is, we're not babysitters because I don't know about you, but I've never sat on a baby. And we're not daycares because we don't care for days. We care for children and we don't sit on babies. So I just love that. And when you hear her say it, you're going to get a chuckle, and it's fantastic. And so telling that story in a bigger, broader way to the world is part of Alix's mission. And I'm so grateful to have her and her leaders across the 7 locations at her school, Discovery Tree, in, again, California. And then her business partner is actually on my team now, on our team, Rachel Supalla, Coach Rachel, and they are business partners. Rachel has the same blend of her curriculum philosophy going at Discovery KidZone in Helena, Montana, or the surrounding areas of Helena, Montana. And Alix, her partner, is in California doing it as well under the Discovery Tree brand. So anyways, it's just cool, and you're going to love it. Here at Childcare Rockstar Radio, I'm thrilled to bring this to you for episode 101. And with regard to me and what's going on with me, I'm just cruising right along here in 2021, y'all. I still haven't gotten my vaccine. We did an amazing Sankey conference with 400 plus leaders, but it was a mix. We're doing hybrid events now, a mix of in-person and virtual, and connecting the two with chat and with Zoom and with AV elements, and 10-minute talks being done, both sides of the house, both the virtual side and everyone's just feeling like they're in one room together. So it's very, very cool. That was a huge win for us to do that. And then we're going to all be together again with the Academy in Austin. The Freedom and Empire folks will be going to Austin in late April. And for that meeting, I'm going to try to get vaccinated before that meeting. So I'm on the list. I'm on the wait list. My name is officially in the queue. I haven't gotten a response yet from our county, but I'm hoping that because I put that I'm a childcare consultant and I'm around a bunch of childcare folks, I'm hoping that'll give me a little in to the speed at which I can get vaccinated. So we'll see. But yeah, my team is really good. Shout out to the team. And we're doing amazing things here at the Childcare Success Company. We're going into our 2-day EOS inspired leadership retreat for our annual 2-day retreat. And then we do a quarterly 1-day retreat. So coming into the next couple of days, I will be away, sequestered away, working on the business with my leadership team. There's 7 of us, and I cannot wait for that. And really serving clients at the highest level. The Academy has never been stronger, never been more on fire, and new people coming in all the time. So I often invite you to come on in and learn more about it through a coaching call or a strategy session with one of my coaches. And I hope that you will take advantage of that at childcaresuccess.com. And we can't wait to meet you and help you and serve you and have you be part of this amazing community, of which Alix is a part, and her colleague Rachel is a coach on the team and a client. So we are loving it. We're loving this ability to serve and to help you guys serve at the highest level and impact families, kids, and teachers in the most positive way imaginable. Let's dive right in, shall we? Without any further ado, let's meet Alix Hall here at Childcare Rockstar Radio. Enjoy. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This is Chris Murray, your host, and I am thrilled today to welcome to the podcast Alix Hall. Alix, how are you?
Hi there. I am great. It's a beautiful day in California, 63, gorgeous, no rain, so it's lovely.
Excellent. You're in California. Are you in the Sacramento area right now?
Sacramento.
Where are you?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm in my office, my support office in Sacramento, Fair Oaks, which is a suburb of Sacramento. So I'm in my support office where I spend about 90% of my time. So I love it here, enjoy it.
Cool.
And get a lot of work done. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's a very beautiful background that you have.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit more about you, Alix. Describe your early learning company, how many locations, and what's the name of your school, etc.
So my schools are Discovery Tree Schools and Arista Schools. 3 years ago, I bought Arista, two schools called Arista. One we have rebranded to a Discovery Tree, so right now there's just one Arista. We have 7 locations in the Sacramento area. 2 are suburban locations, so they're on acre of land, each of them an acre plus, and they're very country day schools where we have animals and organic farms for the kids, organic gardening and animals, chickens, ducks, hens, geese. Geese are rare because they fly in to see their friends and leave, and potbelly pigs and Nubian goats. And so the kids really learn a lot about STEM and nature and science outside in their outside STEM area. But they gather eggs every day and go out and put on, even in the rain, we've got a big bin of galoshes, and they put on their galoshes and they're out there feeding the animals and taking care of them. And they really learn a lot about the life cycle of, life. We have many animals buried on the property, and the kids go to that place. And I remember Pork Chop, one of our potbelly pigs had piglets. We didn't know she was pregnant when they gave her to us. And one of them didn't survive, and they called him Pork Chop. And I remember Pork Chop. Pork Chop's buried here. So the 2 suburban schools are very country oriented. But then we also have urban schools because Sacramento is the capital of California. We have a lot of schools in the downtown area for state workers and other people working in the downtown area. So those urban schools are a little smaller, quite a bit smaller as far as their footprint goes, that we can't have farming animals and things there, but they still have organic gardens. And so we have a nice balance of suburban and urban schools here in California. And then I have a recent partner for the past maybe 4 or 5 years in Montana, who has 3 schools that are more suburban schools. They are suburban schools in Montana, and that is Rachel Supalla. So part of what we had in connection is she's in Helena, which is also the capital of Montana. So we have a lot of things in common as far as the workforce and what parents need in Sacramento as well as Montana, even though we're very different. Right. So she's got, she really manages those, and she has the suburban schools and is looking for urban. Yeah. We're looking to strike out in the urban core. Right. So we have been in business here in California for 40 years. Whoa. We're actually on year 41. I know. So, that's amazing. So founded Discovery Tree, all those years ago in Sacramento, and have had a partner originally, but that lasted for about 11 years. And then since that time until 4 or 5 years ago, it's been me on my own, kind of slowly building Discovery Tree into what it is now. So I love the challenge. I love opening new schools and offering what we do differently to more families, to more parents, to serve them.
Right. Well, based on how you look, you must have started your schools when you were like 3 years old. That's all I have to say.
I used to say I was a child prodigy. I started them when I was 9. Now I guess I'm going to have to say 3. Thank you very much for that. I'm 1,000 years old.
Stop it. Oh my goodness. So you look great, and I love your schools. I love the country day school approach. I love the farm component. I'm a huge pig lover. I collect pigs at home, actually ceramic and all different kinds.
Oh,
and I love pigs.
That's good to know.
I went to the Bahamas and had to go to Pig Island. There's actually 2 different pig islands. So the baby pigs and the mama pigs hang out. Yeah. And swam with the pigs, and so I love that, and I'm a huge fan of that approach for children. I just think it's fantastic.
They are so smart. Pigs are so smart.
Yeah, they're cool animals. That's awesome. So I'm assuming that you have pretty full enrollment because your brand is pretty special. And I'm sure that parents in Sacramento as well, I know that having worked with Rachel, because Rachel's also a coach on our team. And if you guys want to learn more about the Montana schools, you can go check out the podcast. I think it's episode 92 featuring Rachel Supalla, which is Alix's partner. And a coach at CCSC as well. So your current enrollment how's it doing here during the final days of coming out of COVID, I'll say?
Okay, so typically we are full with a huge waiting list.
Yeah.
That's not the case at all of our schools right now with COVID, and the fact that we are in the urban core and so many state buildings and private businesses have, really pivoted very well like we had to, with their employees working at home. We have 2 of our schools are pretty much at capacity, and they are facility-wise, they can work at capacity under the restrictions that licensing here is requiring, the pod approach, no kids mixing, no teachers mixing. So 2 of them can really function at capacity and are doing that and are doing really well. The other 5 are pretty much at 60 to 75% of our normal enrollment, based upon what we can do under the restrictions. And quite frankly, based upon parents not going back to work quite yet, because we've had quite some bad surges here, as well as the variant. Unfortunately, now the variant is in Sacramento. So we're doing okay. We're doing great. We got a PPP loan, and that helped a lot. And we applied for the next round. So we're doing fine. I'll be happy to see, as everyone, I'm quite sure, will be happy to get back to life as usual, life as we know it, or life as what it's going to be. We are enrolling come January, typical good enrollment time for us. But right now, we really have been enrolling at those other 5 schools quite a bit, because I think employers are figuring out, you can't really be as productive as I need you to be when your kids are running in the background and things like that. So they're going back to work slowly and surely, but I think by May, June, we'll be pretty much back to capacity. That's my projections and everything that the experts in California are kind of telling us.
Excellent.
So we're doing good. We're doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you do anything?
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. For services that you did for parents while they are home in order to keep them either paying a portion of their tuition or full tuition, or keep them with you, kind of put your arms around them while they're at home, while waiting to come back to preschool. Have you done anything of that nature to try to continue those revenue streams while parents are at home?
Absolutely. We did 2 things. Well, we pivoted in a lot of ways, like everyone else had to do, kind of step back and create new ideas, because whoever thought we'd be in this pandemic? Not me, that's for sure. But we did do 2 things that have been very successful. One is, like many programs, we created a virtual preschool that parents were continuing to pay 50% of tuition, up to 50% of tuition. Pretty much some were paying 75%, just because when we were having a tough time, they wanted to support us. But we started out creating a 3-hour program, and then we thought, well, for 50% of tuition, we want to make this a nice 4-hour program. So we created a 4-hour Zoom preschool that we did when we had to close the school. We only closed for 3 weeks to kind of flatten the curve a year ago, back in March. So we created this in 3 weeks and figured it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So that parents who didn't come back right away would have this connection. We would continue their connection with the schools, with their friends, with our teachers, and the kids could get a value. The parents could get something done during their day, even though usually the parents were involved in part of that preschool experience. So we did that, and we're continuing to do it for the parents at home. It has really trickled down a lot because more people have come back to work. The other thing that we did is only 2 of our schools have school age programs, the 2 suburban schools. So at our downtown locations, we got a waiver to be able to, once school started again back in September, but didn't really start, once it started virtually, we offered our DKZ, Discovery KidZone, that's what we call our school age program. We offered DKZ for current clients who were going off to kindergarten, or those that went to kindergarten last year up to 1st grade. at our downtown schools, it really is a smaller footprint. So we couldn't have third graders or fourth graders at the school with preschoolers. Wasn't set up for that. But we did open it up for kindergarten and first graders that had been in our program before and or people that they knew, which really was a great service because parents were like, I tried it last spring. This did not work for me. My child was on fire. I was on fire.
Right.
Please, I'll pay you $1,000 a week to do school with my kids. So we did. We opened it up, and they were really happy. It came with some challenges. We had to boost our broadband because when you have 20 devices on your broadband versus the tablets and the computers that we had, every child had to come with their devices. So again, we had to come up with policies of how that was going to work. Yep. But it's been wonderful, and it really has helped keep our schools downtown full. And parents are happy to have their kids doing their school age work with us instead of tearing their hair out at home, So those two things have really been great and worked really well for us and to serve the community, to serve our families.
That's awesome. So when I think about your business and what I know about you, Alix, you, with regard to culture of your school and the people side of your business, you have, as an industry veteran, really developed your leadership capabilities over the years and then developed the capabilities of your team. One of the best I've seen in the industry with how you're doing tracks. You're doing, leadership, more admin track, in your program, and maybe curriculum tracks for teachers to develop their skills and have kind of a career ladder inside of your school and kind of see those paths for professional development. So just talk more about that. How did that get developed, and what's kind of more of the backstory of that?
Okay, thank you. That is so important in our growth ability to grow. What I found was school, when I split with my partner, we had two schools. She kept one, I kept the other. And then I slowly continued to grow. She still only has one school to this day. And that was like 27 years ago. But I started to grow. And at school 2, I had it down pat. Everything was going great. I could do it. School 3, that year was hell year. I thought I would kill myself. I was like, I'm not going to ever get another school if it's going to be like this, because I felt like I was putting out fires everywhere. So I created this kind of executive team that helped me to manage multiple schools. But also I found that as we were growing, I really needed to have a leadership track. We needed to have a mentoring, a training program, so that we would be ready with leaders when we got an opportunity again. And sometimes for me, those opportunities happen very quickly. I've had was expecting them, and then in a couple of times I wasn't expecting a growth opportunity. An agency would come to me and say, we're not going to put this out to RFP. We want Discovery Tree to take over this center or to run this center, this opportunity. And it would be boom, boom. Well, I needed people to be ready to go, that know our philosophy, that know our culture, that believe in it, because we learned, I've only hired, promoting within is really important to me, because I've only hired outside of Discovery Tree twice in our 41 years, and both times, as far as management, administration, twice. And both times those people crashed and burned, and we crashed and burned, because they didn't have our culture. They didn't believe it. They hadn't been immersed in it. So our leadership team is amazing. And the years of experience that we have run from 26 years. Our oldest leader besides myself is 26 years, has been with Discovery Tree. And then the newbie is 16 years. Each of them started as teachers, went through our leadership track, went through our mentoring program, and so that we could promote from within. But they all also, except one, had their children come through Discovery Tree. So they see how well our philosophy goes into, once they go to public school, once they go to high school, once they go to college. 2 of them are in college in early childhood education, and they work for us. So they really see how our philosophy translates to the real world and how well it goes through life. So they get our culture, they live it, they breathe it, they believe in it. And that has been major key to our success, because they are not me. They can't be me, and nobody wants to be me. They bring their own wonderful self to Discovery Tree, but they have our core values. They totally get it. They totally believe in it, and it's so successful. And we needed that. I needed that to be successful, and for me to be comfortable knowing that I'm leaving my schools, our precious children and my livelihood in someone's hands who really gets it and who has as much commitment as I do. So that's kind of how it evolved over the years. And now we have a teacher track that for teachers that we identify that we think can go into more of administration. Whether we have an opportunity for them or not, we are keeping them with us versus them going somewhere else and taking a job where they see more growth. They know that we're growing, that we're in a growth pattern, that we're scaling. We're opening a new school in 2 months, 3 months, 2 to 3 months right now. So it just, I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud of, I don't kind of talk about myself very much, but I have a director who's very much my cheerleader. And she always says, do you know how many people have bought homes because they've worked at Discovery Tree? Do you know how many people have done this and that? And I'm like, no, but she helps me remember, or helps me see when I'm just going through life going, this is what I do. This is where we are. This is how we grow, And so when I think of it that way, I'm very proud of the women that we have promoted. And generally they are women in our field. We've had male directors, but just promoting women, promoting them into higher level thinking, higher level business opportunities and administration. And so I'm very proud of that. And I love them all dearly. They're like my daughters, like my great sisters, so I love very close knit.
I mean, to me, Alex, that flips the message from childcare workers underpaid and devalued and how much it's a difficult industry. And you're flipping the script to helping them get homes, up-leveling these women, helping them with their entrepreneurial spirit and drive, helping them with their skill development and their confidence, and helping them live their dreams. It's all outlined in the book, The Dream Manager by Matthew Kelly. And you're really doing that. And I think, tracking how many jobs you've added to the community that are solid, good paying jobs with benefits and perks and, and professional development that for women, that's just really, really cool. And it's a message we don't hear a lot. We always hear the opposite, which is how difficult it is to work in childcare and the low wages and all of that. So I love that.
And all of that is still true. But let's try and turn it around as much as we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. You mentioned your philosophy, and I know that there's listeners or viewers that watching this going, tell us more about your philosophy and your curriculum. And because you've been around so long and you've developed it, just give us a little bit more of what goes on. You talked about the country school component, the city school component, but what is your overarching kind of components of your philosophy and the curriculum that you use?
Okay, so we are a constructivist program. So we are heavy on Piaget, Erikson, Montessori, and Reggio inspired. We are a very eclectic philosophy. When we started back all those years ago, I had been working in other schools that, there was no philosophy like ours. They were very traditional, very preschool, what you would think of a traditional classroom. So when we developed this, we wanted to take of Erikson, of Piaget, of Reggio, take what is the best and toss out what didn't work for us. For example, in Montessori, strict Montessori is there is one way to do this task, and you will do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We wanted the work jobs and the tasks, but we wanted more of a divergent approach for divergent thinkers, to create divergent thinkers versus convergent thinkers. So, for example, in Montessori, we use the tasks and we use the work jobs, but we encourage the children to find their way. So if they're doing a work jobs together, each of their work jobs is near them. And this child may do steps 1, 3, and 5 and come to the solution with the teachers being the facilitator. How could you make this happen? What would happen if guiding with the questions? The child next to them might do steps 1, 2, 5, and 6. They both come to the same outcome and they look at each other and go, well, how did you do that? And so they learn from each other that there's many ways to do things rather than one way. So that's a good example of what we took from Montessori and what we didn't take from Montessori. So we have this eclectic philosophy that's very child-centered, very hands-on, and learning through play, learning through exploration, learning through discovery, Reggio-inspired. We use safe, kind, and clean is our philosophy for discipline, safe, kind, and clean, and safe, kind, and clean, and mindful. But it's just an eclectic philosophy that is, we're an open learning center-based program that uses multi-age grouping, family groupings in the preschool. So ages 2.5 through 5, again, part of our philosophy was very strong that people didn't understand that. And I'd say to parents, they'd say, well, how do these kids all work together? Well, it's a family grouping. In a family, you may have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. They don't all live in their own world. 7-year-olds don't live together. All 22-year-olds don't live together. All 36-year-olds don't live together. So here's how they learn from each other. They model up and they work as a family. So that was a new approach that was kind of like, I could have had a V8. People were like that. Like, really, that's true. So, and we're still like that because even in Sacramento, it's not a very progressive community. It's very conservative. And there's a lot of programs where all 2-year-olds are in a classroom, all 3-year-olds are in a classroom, all 4-year-olds, all 5-year-olds. And so when people find our program, they go, yeah, that's really true. We do learn from each other. And we, kids, siblings that are in our program, instead of the 2-year-old standing at a gate looking at their 5-year-old sibling on another playground, ours get to come together, touch bases, and then go back with the peers they want to play with. So it really is a family grouping that promotes all of that. So it's kind of different, a little bit different.
That's cool. I really like that.
So it was well received, very well received.
Yeah. And I can see, I can see definitely how it promotes learning and the ahas that the children are experiencing with their team members, their family members. In that example that you gave, in it versus being teacher-led versus child-led, it's kind of a blend. I would say, with that example, child-led but teacher-guided. And I love that. It's really, really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, really awesome. Cool. Well, I love that. Thanks for diving into that and explaining that. So with your longevity of your teachers, and they've been with many have been with you for so long, people I'm sure listening are jealous of that and wanting to develop that in their own schools. So what are some of the factors that you attribute to your staff retention?
So we're in a little bit of a different time because of the workforce that we are attracting right now. They don't have as much, I wouldn't call it loyalty. They have more priorities of experiences. And so they might not stay with us. We have a core that have been with us for a very, very, very long time. So I'm going to say maybe 70% of our workforce is the core that has been with us for a long time. And the last 25% are kind of transitional right now. And I think, to be fair and to be truthful, that's what we're experiencing. And that is hard for me. That's hard for us and hard for our longtime admin team who has been used to having these teams that stay together and work together for very long times. And we've had to adjust to that as well. So really trying to keep people happy, getting our core values, interviewing and hiring and recruiting to our core values, having our job description aligned with our core values and our evaluations aligned with our core values, so that we know that when someone comes to work with us, even if they're transitory, and let's face it, this is a transitional field for many people. A lot of our staff that we've hired over 41 years thought they were going to be a public school teacher or a speech pathologist. We have a lot of employees that do child development and they teach for us, and they're going to be a speech pathologist or public school teacher. So we know we've got them for 3 years or whatever it is while they're going to college, and they're getting experience working with kids. So face it, that's part of our field.
Sure.
But we've had a lot of them that, maybe I don't want to be a public school teacher. Maybe I will do this for a career and stay with us. And and I started out with a liberal studies major. I started out going to be a kindergarten and first grade teacher. And then I fell in love with the preschool age and changed my major to child development, from liberal studies to child development, and got my BA and got my master's degree. So it's finding the right person, finding the right, blend and the right person. So really, I'm going to say just supporting them, hiring to our core values, making sure that people really love what they do and that they fit our culture, and then embracing them, celebrating them, trying to keep everyone, especially right now in this stress. This is a stressful job at any time, but during COVID, wow. Really, and all of the practices and procedures and things we have to do. And I'm very proud. I'm kind of the COVID general. We have only had to close 2 classrooms for 2 weeks in this whole time. And our very first COVID was November 13th, unfortunately. So we went from February to November of last year. So just keeping them valued and happy during COVID is, I think, really hard, but important to do to keep everyone where they're at. So we are in transition right now with some of our staff, but in general, we've got a great happy core. And I think the long timers, help the newbies to see, this can be successful. We're in a tough time right now, but it isn't always going to be like this, and it isn't always like this. Yeah. So I just think that's part of it.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about AELL. I know that you've been there for a while, and you have a new role there, I believe. So tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about your role at AELL, which is the Association for Early Learning.
Yes, that's right. So AELL is just, in my opinion, the best leadership for mentoring and support for leaders, emerging leaders. We have tracks for emerging leaders. When I found them, I had been an owner for a long time out there on my own, trying to develop, links and friendships here in Sacramento. And I've done that very well and mentored lots of people. And thank goodness for the mentors that I had. I'd never be where I am right now without those mentors. I mean, I started my schools when I was 19. I was 3 months shy of 20 years old when we started Discovery Tree. Right. So I had to have a lot of mentors over the years, and thank goodness for them. But anyway, I found AELL when they were the national NACCP, the National Association for Child Care Professionals. So I found them back in 2009, just by accident. They were not big and still are not big on the West Coast. They are large in the Midwest and the East Coast. But anyway, I found them and just immediately found people who could help me at my level as an owner of what I needed. NACCE is great for teachers. ACE here and Sequel here in California, those are all great for teachers, but they don't have the leadership mentoring aspect that AELL has. So found my people right away. It was great. And just pretty early on was asked to join some committees and started with that, working on some committees like with the World Forum Foundation. I'm on a number of committees there as well. So just kind of started getting my feet wet of who they were and just have made lifelong friends there. And then from the committees, I was asked to sit on their board. And so that was in about 2015, I think. I became a board member. And currently, I'm vice president of AELL, along with my partner in crime, Ron, and our whole board, which is great. But Ron McGuffin is the president, and he and I work very closely with Lori and everyone else. But it's just a great organization, different than your organization, which focuses a lot on growth and development and AELL focuses more on mentoring and leadership and how to keep your team happy and your teachers happy. And now we've got emerging leader tracks and things like that as well. So both organizations are wonderful at what they do.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And I love Ron and Lori, and they've both been interviewed on my podcast, Lori most recently. And so if you guys aren't connected, go to earlylearningleaders.org and check them out. They do every Tuesday, they do a coffee clutch chit chat with Lori and Ron, which I attended last week and was cracking up because they're just hilarious and fun. So it's a great break in your day. You can grab some lunch and hang out and do a little lunch and learn with them and just connect. And it's a wonderful group. And then the Child Care Success Academy, we love having you in there as well. And I love having you and Rachel in the Empire level. And so that is fantastic as well. So thank you for being part of our academy and adding a lot of wisdom and value to it.
Thank you. And we've learned a ton as well.
I'm so glad. So if you had to do it all over again, what is the one thing of maybe of several, because it might be hard to pick one, that you would do differently looking back?
Good question. Probably a number of things, but let's see. I would say for me, the person that I am not a techie at all. I know enough to get through, and I have great Crystal and Becca and Rachel are my techie helpers. So I would say for me, not fighting systems and technology that help you grow, that help you get out of the minutia. I am very slow for new programs because my head explodes, honestly, when I'm learning one of these new programs. So for me, I know intrinsically that I need to do it and that this is going to move us forward. And thank goodness I have Crystal especially, who just walks me through the process until I can get it, walks me through. And then in social media and those kinds of things, Rachel is really my guidance and things like that. But really, I would say when you know you need to do something, jump in for a new system, a new technology, and don't wait, because I've waited on a number of things. And afterwards, I'm like, really? How long did it take me to do that? And it's so much easier, you know? Right. So I would say that's one of my weaknesses and the hardest thing for me. And I would encourage people who are like me that aren't techies and that don't like to learn new systems to just go for it. Rip off the Band-Aid, go for it and get it done, because you'll be happier. You'll be happier on the other end.
Well, and with today's technology and today's parents expecting a high level of, either parent apps, communication, and tech platforms in a school, it just makes you look best in class. Yeah. So to that point, what are you guys using technology wise? I'm assuming you might be using ProCare for your
We use ProCare and ProCare Connect.
Okay.
That's correct. We do use ProCare. We tried another program for 3 months and it didn't work for us, Brightwheel. We did switch to Brightwheel and it just in the end didn't have as many options. And we throughout it, again, here I am. I kept paying ProCare and we didn't lose any of our data because I was like, we're going to test this out and make sure it works for us. So we went back to ProCare. We use ProCare, ProCare Connect, Engage. Parents love it. They love Brightwheel too, as far as the engagement app. Mm-hmm. As far as the operating system, it didn't work for me. I needed more reports. I needed easier access. Mm-hmm. But ProCare, Engage, and Connect we use. As far as our platform for DKZ and distance learning, that is whatever the schools are using. But for our virtual preschool, we're using Zoom. Mm-hmm. So we have Zoom for that. And quite frankly, our meetings, I bought stock in Zoom last February, a year ago, right before the pandemic. Who knew? It was so prescient. I bought Zoom, Facebook, Slack, and a couple more. And then, of course, as the pandemic came, I bought stock in the Moderna, Pfizer, and all of that. But it was very prescient. It was like a month before the pandemic. And so I think I got Facebook like 104, and now it's in the 500s. So anyway.
Good for you, Alix. Look at you doing your day trading. That's awesome.
But anyway, back to having Zoom meetings. Having Zoom meetings for our directors, that has been so efficient. Mm-hmm. I love to be in person, and I miss them when we're not in person. But gosh, to be able to have everybody in their office having a Zoom meeting, great.
Yeah, absolutely. And even doing...
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. And doing Zoom virtual tours for parents or FaceTime virtual tours and just using technology. I think a lot of what we're doing, we're going to continue doing because it is convenient. Because if parents want to do a virtual tour and are excited about that, why not? You know, we could keep doing some blend just to be of service to them in the evenings or what have you. So I think it's really, really good.
I agree.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I agree.
Cool. So the age-old question of our podcast here at episode 101, by the way, you are just the one episode past 100, which I love, is how do you define a childcare rock star?
I'm going to say a childcare rock star is someone who just loves what they do, has heart for what they do, shows up every day, and just goes for it. I mean, every day is different. Let's face it. You can have a curriculum plan. You can have a project, a long-term project that you did last month, and you're repeating it because, of course, we all know kids learn by repetition. And so repeating a great project is a good thing to do, or a great practice in my philosophy. That worked wonderfully a month ago, but it's not working right now. So you have to adapt. You have to say, okay, what's different? It's a different group of kids. Is it the weather? Is it a windy day? We all know windy days create havoc for kids. Just going for it and saying, okay, I'm going to reboot. I'm going to refocus this activity and do it and make it work. So just showing up every day, loving what you do, being innovative, being creative.
Yeah.
I think we're all rock stars by what we do, undervalued by what we do. But I'm so happy. I think this is a time in history in our field, in this industry, that we have a new recognition that people see that we are not just, well, first of all, the phrase babysitter.
Right.
Never sat on a baby in my life. Okay.
Thank you.
This isn't daycare. I don't take care of a day. Okay. I take care of children. We educate children. We don't sit on babies. Yeah. We don't take care of days.
Yes.
Let's just get that. Okay. We're early educators.
Amen,
proud
sister.
Early educators. Yes. But I think this is a time in history where parents and politicians and our leaders in our cities, and we need to be the voice to also march this drum, pound this drum and march it home, which we have been doing very well in Montana, in Helena, and in Sacramento, that we are essential, not because we are here doing the job every day. We are essential. We are essential for the workforce. If there is not quality early education programs, people are not going to go back to work, period. They won't have a place for their child. We are essential for many reasons. Yeah, and so I think we have a window, a time in history to really advocate for this and to finally get the recognition that we deserve, that we are as important as public school teachers, and probably more important because we all know 0 to 5 is when all learning, all foundations take place. So that's my soapbox for right now. But anyway, I just think we're all rock stars.
Yeah. Love what you just said. Absolutely. Speaking the truth. 0 to 5. It's when the foundational concepts of our core, of what we value about ourselves, those are the things that are built at 0 to 5. And you just totally said it. You nailed it. We are essential, and we are essential to the economy of the world and of our country. Right. For sure. So I've been trying to sing that song since April. Thank you for singing it again.
Yeah,
I love you I love you said that. And what I was thinking about when you said that was with just passion, because you were describing, showing up and energy and all of that. And Nefertiti Pointer, we had her as a guest speaker on one of our virtual meetings last year and here on the podcast. And she's amazing. And she calls it her occupation. So it's not your occupation, it's your occupation. So I just love that. And that, to me, that's what you just said. Yeah. So I love that.
I love that too. And she was terrific. Yeah. I was there.
Yeah, she's so cool. Yeah. All right. So my last question is, any resources or books that have been impactful to you on your journey that are the core of the essence, either ECE or non, that you love, that you want to share?
Okay. So I two books that I go back to all the time. Interesting. This is podcast 101 is Leadership 101. I think it's John Maxwell. It is John Maxwell. Is it on my bookshelf here? I love that book, and I go back to it over and over because it just resonates with me. There's so many good ideas in it. And then also Simon Sinek, Start with Why, because whenever I'm frustrated, I don't have to find my why. I know my why very well. But if I get frustrated, I go back with Start with Why, how this works. So both of those, I think, are core books for me. Currently, I'm reading Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, again, John Maxwell. So I love that book. It's wonderful. And EOS, we are starting to implement EOS, as you know, from Rachel. So EOS and traction, which makes my head spin a little bit. So we are Rachel's a little further on implementation. She had her group meeting 2 months ago, I think, on EOS. We have ours scheduled for April. But EOS and traction are I'm working on now. So those are both good.
Cool.
So that's it for me for now.
Cool. I love it.
A lot going on.
Yeah, the book Traction is wonderful by Gino Wickman as an introduction to EOS, but it's not easy to get through. It took me 2 tries, and which for me is saying a lot, because I usually, with those kinds of books, I can usually pick them up pretty quickly, but there's a lot in it, and it's a little, I don't know, for whatever reason, the way it's written is a little daunting. So if you are struggling with that book, I would say just go to EOS Worldwide and check out the tools, or go to their YouTube channel and watch some of the videos about the 6 components of EOS. And it all starts with the accountability chart.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I started with EOS because I had heard traction was very difficult to get through. So I started with EOS, and that was very helpful because then it helped set me up for traction. But I have not been to that EOS YouTube channel yet. I heard about it 2 weeks ago. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I find it to be very useful just to get quick tips. They're like 5 or 6 minute videos, which are just really, really great, just to kind of put your toe in the water. So that's great, Alix. This has been amazing to get to know you better here on the podcast. I'm sure our audience is loving everything that you've shared, and lots of amazing nuggets that you shared today.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Just everybody, be happy, be good humans. That's what I have my tagline at the end of my thing. Be good humans. We're doing good work. We are creating humans. That's kind of my lifetime goal is impact 1 million humans to be good humans. So you're doing great work. Just hang in there and love what you do.
Yeah.
My occupation. I had forgotten about that. You're right. This is my occupation. This is my chosen occupation, my chosen career. Love it.
And it's wonderful. And you've obviously, put so much of your life's work and your energy and your love into it. And that really shows. That shows up that the quality of your school, 7 locations, amazing rock stars on your team, leadership development, culture, mentoring, great curriculum, all of those components all fold in together. And you have probably impacted, certainly tens or hundreds of thousands of children over your 4 decades. And so you have so much to be proud of, Alix Hall. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, everybody. this is a wrap. Thank you so much again. And thanks for tuning in, folks. And we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.